everybody. Welcome to week 11 of the high school football season here on YouTube on Mirror TV. I'm your host, Scott Franco, joined again by Mike Boydum, our high school beat writer, all things high school football. This is our playoff edition. But before we start, we got a new cup. We got a red cup. And we'll have the drum roll here. And the drum roll comes in courtesy of our wonderful special effects department. And they will be put in later by our special effects people. But our new cup is given to us by Central High School. And it's a nice one. In fact, A.J. Hohenstein, the offensive coordinator, offensive guru up at Central, brought this to me personally on Monday night during the JV game when Central was playing Hollidaysburg. Came up into the stands. I have to say this is the first cup of all of our cups that was given to me personally by a coach. I know Nick Loveridge delivered the Bellwood one to Mike.
And you got the State College one.
And the State College one was given to me by the...
Mrs. Dorn.
Yeah, the Booster Club president. Some of the other ones were just in the mail. But this one was nice because it was given to me by a guy who I'm so old. I remember writing about AJ in the 80s when I first started working here. But thanks again to Central for giving us the cup. And because Mike really works these things out so perfectly, our segue is the first game, playoff game. Central at Bald Eagle. These two teams have already played this year. Central lost, what was it?
It was 29-7 the first time they played.
And Mike and I both saw Central last week. Mike covered the game. I was there watching the game, Central Hollidaysburg. And I think Mike and I agreed. Central has to be like the best 4-6 team around. They moved the ball on Hollidaysburg. They just, when the field shrunk, their opportunities to score shrunk. They did too many turnovers. Bald Eagle area's kids didn't even play last week because they wanted to rest up for the playoffs. So those kids... maybe they're going to be out of rhythm a little bit. What do you think of Central's chances of pulling an upset here?
It's really interesting because you hear in professional sports all the time, college sports even, oh, we're going to rest for the playoffs and not play at the end of the season. But I've never seen in high school sports where a whole team sat out a regular season finale. It's really a strange approach by Bald Eagle area.
So he played his JV team.
Yeah, they all voted. It was a player's decision. They voted not to play.
And they lost big, right?
Yeah, they lost big. And it'll be interesting to see if that... Now, they were dealing with some injuries, so maybe they got healthier, but... I was really impressed with Central last week because they did move the ball. They got on the Hollidaysburg side of the field almost every time they had the ball. They just got to find a way to finish these drives, and sometimes when you're facing elimination, that sense of urgency might be the difference.
But Central has to learn to run the ball. They, I think, 28 carries for 25 yards. They threw the ball really well with Kitt and Hohenstein. Their receivers really nice. They got to watch, I guess, the Jones kid for Bald Eagle area, their quarterback. Is it safe to say if you can contain him, slow him down, isn't he pretty much their offense?
He's one of the good players. Gage McCallahan's a good player as well.
Okay. Our next games are Class 1A first round games. Our first one is Penns Manor at Claysburg, and then we got Northern Cambria at Homer Center. Claysburg, a 5 seed in this one. How good is Penns Manor? What do we know about them?
Well, they played each other in 2017 in the playoffs, and Claysburg handled them pretty well. I think it was like 27-8. Claysburg's actually won a home playoff game 2 years in a row now. If they win this week, this would be the 3rd year in a row, and that's a real nice turnaround for that program because they were really struggling for a while.
Do we know if they're healthy too, as far as what?
According to what we've heard, Preston Bush is coming back. Kobe Haar is healthier than he has been. Now, I'm not sure about Zach Claycomb, who's missed some time this year, but I think they're starting to get healthy, and this is a game that they should be expected to win.
And then with Northern Cambria being a number 11 seed and Homer Center as a 6th seed, is that, I know I picked Homer Center just because of the discrepancy in the picks. I got to think they're a big underdog.
It was a lopsided game the first time they played. I think it was 34-6 in the regular season. Now, Northern Cambria's quarterback missed that game. He was injured. And that made them one-dimensional. And Adam Capera, who just set the Northern Cambria rushing record for a single season, he only had 35 yards in that game. So expect it to open up a little bit more with Mike Hoover back there, a quarterback, because he's thrown for over 1,000 yards in 8 games. So he's able to give them another dimension. But Homer Center is still probably the favorite in this one.
Now, before we get to our next game, a semifinal, we have to give a shout-out. Our boss, Neil Riddell, wants me to include the Ravens cup that he got for us. It's not a cup, it's a thermos. So I will drink from this throughout the rest of our season. so that we at least do get the Ravens into the picture, but we do keep it away from our lovely high school. Anyways, back to our countdown here. Mike's just shaking his head going, I don't get paid enough to do this. Somerset at Bedford. These two played already this year.
Yeah, it was very lopsided.
Yeah, I mean, Somerset, they chose to enter the playoffs. I think, did they have 3 wins, 4 wins?
Yeah, they won their last game against Central Cambria to qualify, and Coach Landis had a great quote. He said, "Hey, we qualified for the playoffs, so we might as well enter." But they upset Bedford last year, 11-7 in the regular season. So I mean, it's not like they haven't beaten Bedford recently. There's kids on this team that have beaten Bedford, and Bedford obviously is going to take the game seriously. They have a game at home. Mercury Swaim has been really good at the quarterback position for them this year. So I'd expect Bedford to win this one, but. Who knows? It might be a little closer with being a playoff game.
And Mercury, great name. Got to think his dad was a Dolphins fan, named after Mercury Morris. And wouldn't a Bedford Bison Blue Cup look nice on this table? Just saying.
I will be covering that game.
Just saying. So if anybody out in Bedford County is watching, wants to hit Mike up with a Bedford Cup, we'd love to put a bag over your cup next week. Our next game is a number 4 seed Shade at Tussey Mountain. These two did not play this year, correct?
No.
So what do we know about Shade? And what are their chances?
Well, Shade has been really good the past few seasons, but Brady Fife graduated, and he's been the key to most of that success. So Tussey Mountain's going to be a big favorite in this one. But they were actually upset in the first round last year, so they're prepared for this one because they said that they kind of lost focus toward the end of last season, and Coach Sadasante says that focus on winning a district championship is something that they're really concentrating on this season.
Those are our Friday games. Our next game, these are our Saturday games. District 6 Class 3A, we got Huntington at Westmont. These teams don't play each other during the season. Westmont's the higher seed. Westmont's really good. But I got to think, this was the game I was wondering whether or not I could go for an upset. I'm in last place, whether I got the list. Huntington is a 3 seed. They've played really well here at the end of the season, but Westmont Hilltop just runs. I mean, they don't even try to pass, and they still run the ball effectively. What do you think of Huntington's chances in this one?
Well, Huntington has a shot in any game they play because they have Nick Troha and Andrew Miller. That's a great combination. They have combined for a ton of yards this season. Miller has 45 catches, that's second in the Mears coverage area. The thing is how many times are they going to get a chance to have the ball? If they mess up and have a 3 and out, they might not get the ball back for 10 minutes. And that is just a tough thing to deal with against a team like Westmont.
And I was told by a BG person earlier this week, the Westmont Hilltops line is just so big, and I have not seen Huntington. Have you?
I've seen them.
Do they have any size on the line?
They will be undersized going against Westmont.
Yeah, I was told that Westmont has like 4 guys over 250, so Huntington will have their work cut out for them. The next game, another intriguing game, another game I wanted to pick an upset there. Cambria Heights at Bellwood Annis. Mike has a great info bit on this one. I just keep thinking the Tribus kid, or it's Tribus. I know I've had a teacher named Tribus. They call him Tribus. I just think like if they can pound the ball with him, because Cambria Heights does not throw the ball a lot, do they?
They have completed 22 passes the entire season.
What a good setup I had there from Mike. That's why I keep thinking if they take Tribus away, Bellwood Annis might be in good shape here. Tell everybody the great stat we learned about Bellwood Annis and Cambria Heights.
Well, I had Coach Jared Lewis look this up because a lot of people wondered if these teams have played recently or when was the last time they played. They have actually played never. These teams have never played each other, which is amazing considering they've been about the same size. It's not that far.
You take the back road up there, about you can get the Cambria.
So yeah, this is the first ever matchup between the teams, and it should be interesting. Now I think about this. Whenever Tussey Mountain played Bellwood, Tussey was able to come into that game with Caden Luco, who's a big fullback, kind of like Tribus, and they shut him down for the most part. He had 97 yards, but it was on 29 carries. So he had to really work, and if they can stop the Cambria Heights running game, it's going to be tough for Heights to score points.
And the thing Mike pointed out to me off the air, I was just thinking Bellwood was run, and it's the Miller kid.
He has thrown for over 1,000 yards.
So you never think of Bellwood as a throwing team, but they've had nice balance this year. Our next game, and this could be one of those stats that we didn't know about, if Glendale has ever played Bishop McCourt.
Yeah.
That's got to be a tell, because Glendale plays in the small ICC, and Bishop McCourt has got to be one of the bigger 2A teams. I got to think this is, Spank Trexler's had a nice year in his first year coaching, but this is almost like a David versus Goliath thing.
Well, they haven't played in at least the last 16 years. I know that. But it's going to be a tough test for Glendale, but you got to be happy for Glendale to make it to this point, get in the playoffs after, coming into the season with a lot of question marks. They've had a lot of coaches up there. Spank Trexler's done a really nice job. They can run the ball against anybody, and I expect them to be competitive in the game.
In our last game, District 5 semifinals, 1A Winburn 3 seed at Northern Bedford, the 2 seed. I still think Gary Black, one of the stronger coaches in our area. Every time I've seen Northern Bedford under him, if they get beat, it's because the other team it was better that night. But Winburn, a tough program. I haven't seen Winburn forever, but how hard of a game is this going to be for Northern Bedford?
Well, the last time they played was for the district championship, and Northern Bedford upset Winburn. It was a couple years ago.
Would those kids be seniors then, or was it not that?
No, I think it was 2 years,
so
or 3 years ago.
Seniors right now could be okay.
But I do think that Northern Bedford is going to win this game. I would love to see Northern Bedford and Tussey both win, because when they played in the first during the regular season, it was a great game. I covered that game. It went back and forth. There was kind of a controversial fumble that wasn't called a fumble toward the end of the game that swung momentum. And after that game, Coach Black said, "Hey, we just want to try to get to the point where we get back here and play Tussey again. And if both teams win this week, that's going to happen next week."
And we could be talking about that game on our next show. This is it for today's show. I have to do one thing I promised to shout out like a month ago. We have a guy who's an Altoona football player, former Altoona football player named Jack Sipes, now lives in Hollingsburg, has kids. He's like a grown man who watches us. Mike and I think we have just young people watching us. But Jack Sipes is a avid fan of our show, watches it all the time, so I said I'd give him a shout out. And that's it. Now, anybody else wants a shout out, you're going to have to pay for those services. We'll run advertising across the bottom of the screen and get your name on for a shout out. But for Mike Boydum, my name is Scott Franco. We'd love to add another cup to this thing, maybe even a Northern Bedford Cup. We could find out who's covering that game Saturday night.
The Juniata Valley and Portage both play.
Juniata Valley and Portage.
We could use a green.
We could use a green cup with a nice. We make sure we get the Hollingsburg one in there and the State College. But for Mike Boydum, for our guest director Matt Michaelon behind the camera over there, I'm Scott Franco. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week.